You accept science in medicine, you accept science in your telecommunications and all these other things we take for granted. If we do not accept some form of science in food production over the next 50 years, the consequences will be terrifying, I can assure you of that.
Of the ecology of our soils. And on the other side of it, I'd like to say that oil is not going to be there forever. Our conventional farming system is going to end. We have no choice but to move this way. And I don't think anybody, Dominic, is...
What you do, you know, I remember sitting down and talking, you know, to Hillary Clinton's chief scientist about this in America a few years ago. And she's a very credible figure internationally about Dr. Nina Fedorov about some of this. And she went out publicly quite shortly after that and said, I don't think we can actually feed 9.5 billion people on this planet. And then you won't do it by organic agriculture unless you've got about 3 other planets to do it with. 9.5, no, just please, let me just explain where you are, because you sit here comfortably as I do, okay? All of us can say we want certain systems of food production. Why we talk at the moment, there are 1.2 billion people on this planet that face starvation. Beneath that, there's 1 billion that are facing malnutrition and starvation in a short period of time. Okay, that figure has got bloody worse over the last 4 years. Since 2008, when food prices went up, and 2010, when they reached record highs, you've put another 350,000 people into that category facing starvation. What you're seeing in the Horn of Africa today, and I was there a few weeks ago, and you'll see it when you're there, is just an example of the growing problem that we face. That does not mean that organic farming or GM or pesticides are the one solution. What it does mean is that we've got to feed that huge rapid rise in population. We've got to deal with sharing the resources of this planet more equally. We've got to look at all the methods that we can do to achieve that. And organic farming methods can be very good in certain ways. In other ways, you will need more intensive systems. It's not one or the other. There's no simple tool there that you can use. It isn't, because that's the trouble with the debate, to be fair. It's your system is right, my system is wrong. There's no way you can say that with the quantity of food we have to produce and the environmental problems that we face. But Dominic, you're going to have to look at all those
solutions. At the moment, some of the food waste goes to landfill. By 2030, none of it will be going to...
Why can't you stop it now?
Because it'll be going to anaerobic digestion, which we haven't got.
No, that's not the question. Why can't you stop putting that landfill now?
I mean,
why can't you give it away?
Our food waste is less than 1%.
Yeah, but 1% of hundreds of millions of tonnes is a lot.
Yes, and it's lower in our stores. It's undoubtedly lower in our stores because we've got that system of vertical integration. Because we pack our own food, we service it ourselves. It's definitely lower because we have things.
Are you saying that most other supermarkets are much worse than you?
Yes.
How much worse?
I can't tell you figures because they won't share them with us. But
we
know they're lower because we get our products to store quicker, so we can do it within a day, and because we have things like trained butchers in store who will cut the meat to take account of the weather. So, for example, if it's a hot day, they will cook for barbecues. If it's a cold day, they'll cook for stews.
But come back to the first question? Why do you lock it up and not let anyone have it? Or any animal?
It's going to be extremely difficult to ever completely get rid of food waste at the back of stores.
Have you ever tried it?
Really is. Well, of course we try it every day because it costs money. And anything that costs us money means that we have to increase the cost to customers, so that's not a good thing. So yes, absolutely every day we work to reduce food waste. Why would we not? I mean, it's ridiculous to want to throw food away. We don't want to throw anything away, but if it goes past its sell-by date, it's illegal for us to sell it.
Okay, right. Well, next.
All we're saying is stop your system. Stop pretending that you're actually doing them a favour. You're stealing their land, you're covering it in your pesticides, and you're educating people to think that is the way to feed the world. It isn't. It's the way to create more control into the hands of very few multinational companies and take the profits away from small-scale farmers that have decent lives as farmers all over the world.
Okay, right.
Farm. And our soils have been ruined over the years. And very, very quickly, just tell you a little story. My father took over Fordhall Farm in 1929. At that time, it was being over-farmed. It started to use chemical fertiliser on the land. If everyone's been to our farm, it's very, very sandy. You go down a foot and you're in like a sand pit. Now you can imagine when you're ploughing that up every year, all those nutrients in that soil just get washed out. And it got to a point where our soils at Fordhall were completely reliant upon chemical fertiliser to grow a crop. That was the only thing they were getting. Dad was buying more fertiliser every year because the soils were getting weaker, so he had to buy more to keep the yields up. The crops were getting diseased, there was problems, the farm was in debt, and he saw on the same soil, right next door, there was a woodland growing. and it was growing healthy and green and lush every year. What was the difference in that woodland? There was life in the soil. He could see it. He could see the invertebrates, creepy crawlies across the leaf litter. He could see the worms underneath. He learned about all the millions of bacteria and fungi that lived in that soil, cycled nutrients in the soil, and provided the food that fed the plants. And in his field, he was planting, cultivating every year. It was dead. The life had been killed off, and the only thing going into that soil was chemical fertiliser, which he was having to buy in every year and pay to buy in, and the farm was in debt. So he moved the farm over to an organic farming system because it was free, and it's a system which the planet's perfected for millions of years to work to keep the planet going. And within a matter of decades, we changed the system at our farm, and because it's light and sound, you see it quicker. It wasn't working, and he was paying for it not to work. He was having to buy in chemical fertiliser. Yet these systems are there, and we still have only identified something like 5% of the microbes that live in the soil. There's so much about it we don't know about. There's a huge amount of under-resource within the science area of the ecology of our soils. And on the other side of it, I'd like to say that oil is not going to be there forever. Our conventional farming system is going to end. We have no choice but to move this way. And I don't think any